one make a motion, the other one second, we're done.
We are not good.
Yeah, right?
Is Robin coming? Is he here?
I'm not sure if you heard. Okay, it is 1:07. No, it's not, the clock's broken again.
Somebody recommended
Pretty
that.
close, 2:08, right?
Okay. Do you want the roll call?
Yeah, let's call this meeting to order at 2:08. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Nesbitt?
Here.
Mr. Silver?
Here.
Dr. Keller?
Here.
Ms. Phillips is absent. Ms. Ennis is here. Mr. Chair, by the quorum.
All right, could everyone take a look at the minutes from our previous meeting from November 17th, 2011?
Can I ask the top of the second page, a warning letter needs to be sent to Mr. Nabil, or needs further clarification. Did we actually call it a warning letter, or this was the one with, what was that long disclosure? I think maybe it was Mr. Willard's disclosure.
Billman was the one who was appointed to a board, but he also had a contract, and I confess I've not followed up with him, but I've got a note that I will do that this week to find out what the board duties are versus what his contract was, and which came first.
But versus a warning letter, I take the word warning, that implies a violation already. I mean, did we?
Of course, on Nabio was a contribution that was high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those are two separate things?
Right.
Okay.
I should say Mr. Billman.
Right, okay.
Okay, any...
Mr. Chairman,
addition-
no, I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, the minutes pass. Persons to be heard. Why don't we table that until Eric Tollefson comes? How about special orders, none, old business, request for advisory opinion 2011-5.
Yeah, I ask you first, it says this here, it says confidentially, okay, not waive, okay, let me just say what they want it confidential. After
Yes,
they-
I suppose, Madam
if
Clerk,
they
we
have
should
to
move
double
back
think
into
it.
executive session, right, to
Mhm.
discuss this one since confidentiality has not been waived.
We're back in public record.
All right, the board would like to recognize Eric Thompson. Thank you from the Anchorage School Districts. Thanks for coming in to discuss
bet.
with us the issue of gifting with teachers and the like. Maybe you could give us an update on how the board meeting went last month. And
I certainly can. First of all, I'd like to apologize for Carol not being here. She had an emergency meeting on base that she had to go to. She was planning to come today, and it's kind of timely. There was an article on the front page of the paper this morning, and I got a phone call about it yesterday. So, actually, I think the article was pretty helpful. If anybody read the article,
I've got it right here.
Kind of hit what we've been trying to get across to teachers. We met with the board and we shared with them what the Board of Ethics had suggested, and our board has really taken the position that they don't want to put teachers in the position of having to tell parents no, and so we certainly have reminded people that about gifts and gift disclosures, and probably I looked at the ones for the meeting. I looked at all of them, but I looked at the ones for the meeting today, and a lot of those were for the mayor's task force. But I think next time is when you'll see them. One of the problems that they have is that I understand your concern about influencing grades, but if you look at when grades come out and when people are going to give gifts, they're going to give gifts at holiday time, Christmas time, and at the end of the year. Those are the two times that grades really come out. So I'm not sure how to do that. I mean, we will continue to inform our teachers, and we do that. We remind them, at least twice a year that they have to declare everything, and I think that has certainly gotten much better than it had in the past. But the board has taken a position that they really don't want to change where they're at on it. So,
Well, if I may, you've seen the study that we had done, where the Department of Law actually went through and did, and saw where 20% of the schools are reporting.
oh yeah, last year.
Right.
Yeah.
And there may be some improvement, but I don't see, and I admit that other than maybe coaches, you're not gonna see something from middle school or high school. Generally, parents don't give gifts to high school teachers because there's 5 or 6 of them per kid, so it starts gets out of line here. Same thing for middle school, but there still is another 30% of the elementary schools that are not giving any reporting.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that, I asked those questions. I asked those questions to principals because, I've talked about it. We have our meetings with principals and I've talked about it. And, there's some schools that don't get any gifts that go over the limit. I mean, they really don't. I talked to the person that works in my office was a school principal and was a teacher for 20 years or so before he moved into the central offices. And he said he never got anything. Typically what he would get is he would get cookies, he would get pens, he would get, those are the types of things teachers normally get. So I'm not sure that, I can't say for 100% sure, but I think that most of them are getting reported. We have certainly emphasized it to people. So I think there legitimately are schools out there that don't get any gifts that meet the threshold.
I was wondering if I could ask you, just in terms of communication between you and Carol and this board. We've been trying to work with you guys closely on this.
Absolutely.
And so, I guess, well, let me just put it rather flatly. I was surprised that the board considered the letter that we were thinking about sending out for parents, in part because it was a draft and it wasn't completed yet, and we had never really sent you or Carol a request for the board to consider it, and no one in the board, as far as I know, was invited to the school board meeting to present some of the reasons that we had for why we would want the board to do that.
No one on
So what I found-
this board was?
No.
No one on this board was invited to the school board meeting?
As far as I know,
Okay.
yes, yeah. So I found out from a newspaper, I found out from a TV reporter that the school board had a meeting on this issue and had reached a decision. And I was very surprised. So I would just ask that in the future, as we work, since we do have a fair amount of issues that come up with the school district, that if we could work closely on that. I would have loved to have been there to at least made this board's case in terms of why what our justification was, what our rationale was, and to have been there to have heard what the board had to say,
Okay.
to be honest.
Well, I apologize if if there wasn't the communication there should have been, because I thought what we were going to do was take it to our board and ask them to reconsider it.
Right.
And that's what we did, and we took it to them, and that's what
Sure.
they said.
No, I understand.
They said we've looked at this before and we have no interest in doing that.
Right, no, and that's understandable. And looking back at the original email, I can see, Marissa had sent the email saying, I recommend that we take this to the board, but it wasn't finalized. I feel bad, David and a number of board members were actually working on a revision, literally just at the time that you were taking the other version. So in other words, we got pretty blindsided.
Okay, well, I apologize for
Well,
that.
you don't have to apologize, just, because it happened, just in terms of working closely with your office in the future, again, I would prefer to be at the board meetings when the board's going to hear things involving issues that the ethics board is putting forward to them.
Okay. I will let Carol know that also.
If you could, thanks. I don't know what happened, but
Yeah, then, were you even questioned on this? Did Kyle Hopkins call you?
no, that's something I would have.
For me.
Eric, I'm Deanna, by the way, from the Department of Law.
Okay.
And, I really appreciate your concern that having teachers not have to turn down gifts. So I think one of the things the board wanted to do here was an educational letter to parents. I was telling the board, I'm a parent and I give $40 to 4 teachers twice a year. And I know that because I work with this board. And I know what the limits are, and I know that that is helpful for the teachers. And there's some real safe havens for parents that they knew, try to keep your gifts under $50, or larger gifts from groups of parents. There's just sort of, if parents knew how to give gifts. And so I think that's where the idea of a letter to parents came from. And both, interestingly enough, David and I are the attorneys on the board. Both David and I wanted to soften the letter, but that seemed very, sort of a severe letter, but a much softer. So our thing was, can we educate parents? Please don't give teachers $1,000 gifts if you can avoid it. So I fully appreciate your position about not having the teacher say no. But is there any softer way to educate parents that some of this is fairly inappropriate in terms of unequal playing field for other parents, for poor parents?
As you know, we've had parents or teachers that have received diamond jewelry,
Fur coats, airline tickets.
coach bags,
Coach bags.
Pretty expensive gifts. And, as a parent, I know when I had kids in school, there's no possible way I could have competed with anything like that. And it's more of an impression, and plus it puts the teacher in a real awkward position.
It's awkward.
It does.
And at some point, the teacher, we had a teacher here a while back, and I felt for the teacher. She was in tears. Somebody had never given her something so nice, but it was pretty valuable, the tickets that were given. And, what should she have done? She should, probably the best thing that been done, this is, well, I'm sorry, this is beyond the limit of, because even under the declare, Carol said, well, I don't have trouble with anything up to $250, but this is well beyond $250.
And yet, in that particular case, it was probably explained to you, those were passes that didn't cost the people that gave it to it. They have a value
to the person.
Yeah, they did. They certainly have value to the person, but it wasn't like somebody went out and spent $1,000 on a gift either. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that was.
And Eric, that again goes to the unequal playing field.
Sure,
And
because
I
somebody
think
has
that's more
access to
concern,
those
yeah.
and other people
Yeah,
don't.
but that's
true.
sort of the underlying concern here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the concerns with the letter was that, I think that you asked that we send it out 4 times a year in newsletters. And the things we already have to send out lots of times a year in newsletters, it just becomes, it's another thing for principals to have to do. And I'm not sure that I think we want to get that message out there. In fact, that's why I was kind of pleased that when I read the article this morning, I hope the board was too, because that kind of said, these are the things that mean something to teachers, and those aren't things that cost a lot of money, and it also put in there what the limits are, so that got out to parents probably better than.
Agreed. I've got a relative, a sister who's a teacher. She prefers handwritten notes over this stuff.
Yeah.
But it was, because that means that they actually took the time to write the note.
What I would be happy to do is I would be happy to go back to the board, tell them that we met with you and what you really would like to have, tell me if I'm saying this right, is a collaborative relationship with them to figure out, you're not trying to stop gifts, you're trying to make sure they get reported if they're received, trying to make sure that parents know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and just kind of educate people. Is that a fair?
So I think we'd like to stop what people on the board for a few years now have seen as inappropriate gift giving, gifts in terms of value that's not appropriate for the situation. And then we've just been trying to figure out how to stop that. You know, on the one hand, we've been trying to raise awareness through your office with teachers through their training and the like. Here's what the limits are. Here's the reasoning behind it. And then of late, our focus has been turning to the parents. Well, maybe the issue is that a parent gives a large gift to a teacher, and a teacher feels awkward. I mean, we can all get caught in those moments where you're just kind of so taken aback by the generosity that you just receive the gift and you go, oh, well, gosh, thank you, and you take it. And maybe it's not until later that you think, oh, wait a minute, this is probably not appropriate, is it? Sometimes those professional judgments come a little bit after the fact. So the idea is, how can we communicate with parents, maybe to stop it there, right? If we can get parents to think more carefully. And so I would say the overall goal for this board is to try to cut down and hopefully eliminate the inappropriate gifts. I mean, that's why I remember the first thing that we asked the school board to do was actually just to set a hard cap at about $50.
And that would have been, you know, if they'd have done that, it would have made life easier for me.
It would have made life easier for all of us. But as you know, as we look at articles around the country, I understand that when school boards do that, it's very unpopular politically, and I understand why they would not. So we're just trying to, you know, how can we kind of like nibble around the edges to try to, if we can't place a hard cap, then how do we educate teachers, but I think also parents, and that it might be more important to educate parents. So one idea that I had in there, and I was wondering what your office would think about this and what you would think about this, is once or twice a year publishing an editorial in the ADN that basically would be toned
Kind of
with
like
what
this.
Kyle, in fact, I would say we would not even have to do it now for at least the holiday season, but maybe once or twice a year, publish, or at least ask the ADN to publish a Compass piece striking almost precisely this tone, saying, you know, there are these ethics limits, there's also a sense of appropriateness that needs to be applied here, and just kind of like try to capture the spirit of what he did in that article. And I think that would be one way in which the school board wouldn't be asked to make a more onerous requirement
Like
in
a Compass
newsletters.
piece or something.
That's exactly right. Just, you know, and with the same kind of spirit, just kind of like oriented towards parents, asking parents just to be aware there are some set limits. There are these disclosure requirements. There is concern about conflict of interest. And, you know, by the way, at the end of the day, it's some of the, you know, the more homemade letters and things like that. That actually tends to matter more to teachers anyway. That might be one way.
I
If it was okay with-
I personally like that, and I'll suggest that to the
Okay.
superintendent, you know, in our communications department, if that works, could work with somebody here to put something together.
Oh, that would be
Interesting,
great.
I don't know if you know how this article came about or not. but
I have no idea.
The person that wrote the article now has kids in school and was trying to figure out what's appropriate and what's not appropriate to give the teachers. So that's why, you know, he first started doing some checking with teachers and stuff, to find out what kind of gifts they like, and then he called over to the district and ultimately got a hold of me to find out, you know, what can they do? Are there regulations about this that they can accept and can't accept? So I appreciated the positive spin he put.
Oh, this is perfect. I read this last night when it got put on the web.
And if we could, I agree, if we could do something like that, that would be, I think that would do a lot.
No, this was
It
yeah.
must have been a slow news day to be the headline
Well,
on the
that's
front page. So,
well, that would be great if you could. Yeah, and I'm
Sure. Can
Because
I
it would be
ask-
great to work with. I mean, you're right, to collaborate literally with your office to come up with something would be perfect.
Can I ask
compromise.
one question too? Because I don't know if you've already looked at them for today or not, but a lot of the ones that you had for today are the mayor's task force. Did those need to be reported, in your opinion?
Probably not.
That was my thought, that they
But
didn't.
the school district started flowing in, and so then I went to our OMB, they'd asked OMB for the numbers, and so I sent it out to the assembly members, and they came back and said, we don't need to report this, and then I rethought it and said, no, you're probably right. And,
Well, I
yeah,
didn't think they
I
needed
know.
to be the
I
ones.
kind of went through those real quick after I realized what it was. There is one that concerns me that we will be discussing, but the others, you know, those I saw, okay.
And we still, I mean, it's a constant job to try and educate. We still have people that send in, I got $50 from the PTA for classroom supplies. you
Yeah,
know.
and that's.
Well, it's a group, and we don't.
Right. So, but I like that idea, and we can certainly try and work with that. And if there's anything else, I mean, we want to work with you, we really do.
Same here. No, that's absolutely.
Another thing, I think, if there's anything that comes up on the agenda for the board that involves the ethics code, let me know.
Okay.
And then I can let the board know, and then we can.
The more we can work together, the less of an opportunity will come up where you get put on the spot, and where you're on, I mean, you handled it really, really well, but at the time, you didn't know the background, the context, and why they were contacting you probably, and thank goodness it was corresponding to what other people were saying, and it was a very nice article, but it keeps you out of it keeps the chair of this board from being put in a hot seat, just to
Sure.
be made aware of what's going on. And just to reiterate too, and this is what Dee and I were talking about last time, is we want it to be educational. We're tasked with this board of being educational, and that's one of our mission statements, I guess you could call it, of this board, is to try to educate people, and also, and not just say no, say here's how you can. Does that make sense? And that's what we wanted to temper the letter. And we have no, I mean, my mom was a teacher for 40 years at the English school. I have no intention of shutting this down at all.
Well,
But,
you know, kids like to do it, parents like to do it.
Right.
We just want to make sure it's appropriate.
right.
One other thing you had sent was a new form that you suggested the district look at. I'm not sure who drafted that, but we would be more than happy to work with you on a form. When we did it, we just pulled stuff out of there and made a form. We need a form that works. The problem I had with the form that you gave us is we need one that works for everybody. Because with that, not just teachers, because,
Okay,
so,
right.
because we got two forms out there, they'll get mixed up. People will send the wrong form. So we need to think about that.
Classified versus teaching staff.
Well,
Yeah, I think we had split them up, right? One for admin and one for teachers.
I thought I just saw one. But if there's somebody that wants to work with us on putting a form together that really works, that, kind of spells out, I think it still needs to say, you can never accept a gift under these circumstances, and really the only box that ever gets checked on ours is the gift one. The rest of them really don't get checked on there.
The thing we're talking about in my office, and we're not sure how this ended up splitting out, but there should be one form. Your employees are
Or your-
technically employees of the
Sure.
municipality, they fall into the same code, so I think that's what we need to figure out. We have a set of forms that works for everybody, rather than forms that look different for engineers.
I think
Oh, that's a good idea, yes.
so. If we could have one form that was a universal form,
Yeah, that's-
that's fine. As long as we can make it work for everybody.
All right, well, we'll be in touch about that then, because maybe we
Okay.
should work with someone in your office too then, too, and try to come up with one super gift form.
Well, they're super gifts.
Transcendental gift form.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Okay,
you
well,
for coming.
thank
Well,
you.
thanks
Thank
so
you
much
for
for
letting
coming.
me get in real quick. and
No,
get out.
that's
I got-
great.
No, that's
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Thanks a lot. I
Well, hey,
appreciate
thanks so
it.
much.
Yep, have a good day.
Okay, thank you. We'll
Thank
see
you.
Must be a strange day for you guys, when the superintendent
Well, it
names
was,
out.
yeah, it was a big announcement today.
Yeah.
so. Okay, Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, it's a nice article. There's Alabama, I didn't read this one.
That's great. I mean, that's a perfect article.
Okay, you're in open session.
Okay, let's move on to our next agenda item. Let's take a look at our disclosure forms. Why don't we start with, just with the gift disclosures.
There's only one here that I had an issue with. All the rest of these, as we discussed previously.
I just love the fact that they all got that 34 cents in. Thanks to the card.
I have to find which one we're talking about here. It was- I kind of wonder why some of them rounded it up to $300, and I mean, like, how'd they get extra benefit out of it?
What? If you notice, the dollar amounts are all different for the 34 cent, but the 34 cents is the same.
I guess the one I had a concern about was the one for,
Fire tap?
no, well, maybe that too, but Jeannie Fisher, I believe, Baggage Middle School. Says, description of gift, BP Fabric of America grip, but it was given from a couple, Larry and Sandra Johnson, grandparents of a student. Student recognition was $300.
Fire taps, interesting.
I
I thought
wonder-
that too, yeah.
You know,
I wonder if the grandparents put her in for the grant. She's thinking.
Well, and that's a possibility, but it doesn't,
Doesn't
you see
say
where I'm
that.
coming, this
Yeah.
is well beyond 300 an hour.
Because I know BP always asks for you to send the recommendations.
I'm sorry, what
It's
did we
2
get?
pages later.
2 pages later?
Page
Yeah.
later, page or two.
Who's, I'm sorry, who's the gift to?
Jeannie Fisher?
The
Baggage
fire
middle
tap
school.
was
Oh,
given
oh,
for,
oh. Fire tap's interesting. Do you know Jack Lewis?
no.
Jack Lewis is, he and his daughter are very, very active in the tennis community. And he is the owner of Fire Tap restaurant and also the, I keep wanting Great Alaska Bush Company. It's the, no, it's not. It's the.
No, I didn't think she would allow it.
No, no, no. What's the one next to the Berry Products? They're on
Sourdough.
Sourdough Mining Company. He owns the rest. He's a restaurateur, and so that gift card is to his restaurant. And Jones, of course, is the coach.
See, and I think that falls right within what you all were saying earlier. I mean, for coaching, you give $200 on direct impact.
If it had come from the parents of, we wouldn't have had a problem with it, but it comes from one individual.
Right, and
But it's not $200 to him, really.
Well, it's $200 of imputed value.
Yeah.
Are the coaches, are they necessarily teachers? I guess it doesn't
They're
matter.
municipal employees, one way
Yeah,
or
it
the
doesn't
other.
matter.
But a concern I have now, it doesn't state on here that he has a child on the tennis team, or he's just doing it nice because he likes
Jack?
tennis? Yes.
Oh, I know his daughter graduated, is in college right now. I don't know if he has a son on the tennis team as well. I don't know. I assume he does.
I think we pull that one.
Okay, I concur.
And we pull Baggage Middle School. Or.
And if it is something that they recommended, BP, give them the grant, then I guess I can't say too terribly much, but
I think that might be the situation. I'm looking at the websites on this grant giving thing, and at least in some of the cases, it looks like it's a BP employee who is making the recommendation for these $300 grants. So it could be that one of the grandparents is a BP employee who has recommended the teacher.
Yeah, I
But
just
it's
know they
BP
always
giving-
advertise that say, please give us your names for.
Yeah.
So I'm just, my guess
well,
is.
it's in
that-
this case, do we need to talk to BP about giving inappropriate gifts?
Only if BP has a student,
Yeah.
Well,
has a child
Yeah.
who is, so what would be a child of BP? Like some subsidiary, BP Alaska, right? Be a child of BP. The gas station on Northern
This
Lights.
is even, they got the wrong one checked here, because I would think even on a military gift or award, the value in excess of $150 presented recognition of meritorious civic or voluntary service. No, not necessarily.
Oh, but maybe community
Does student
organization, maybe that's what they're
recognition-
thinking, a gift in value, and the last one's community organization, maybe that's what they're thinking, that BP's fund is some sort of,
I mean, do I want to discourage BP? No.
no,
That's not my intention here.
well, I don't think the code forbids that kind of. How about anything else? Was that?
Those would be the
only two. What did we decide, I'm sorry, what did we decide about Jack Lewis? I was researching the fabric for him. I was researching the Human Fund.
Did you look it up? Were you
I
researching?
made a contribution to the Human Fund for all of you for the holiday seasons. What did you decide, David? You said that.
I don't have an opinion. I just happen to know Jack, and I know the tennis team. Just because I play tennis. And I also know that he owns that restaurant. I just see how it happened. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other how to handle this. What's the standard
But you said you had
procedures?
some concern about the Bush Company giving large gifts to teachers. Was that?
I did. It was encouraging.
That definitely. Let's call Kyle Hopkins. I
Minor
think he may need a follow-up
Teachers,
article.
yes.
This could be a series for him. This could.
You know, an undercover sting operation.
The lack of coverage thing.
I mean, what does this
Well, if
typically
Jack-
warrant a letter from you or from the board, or I mean,
I mean, this would be a letter one generally, wouldn't it?
Yeah, generally it would be
Just a letter?
Generally it would be a letter one. But I mean, if he does, except if he doesn't have student, parent, guardian, group.
It says he's got the ratio of donor to recipient, no. So it doesn't say parent or grandparent of.
Yeah, it does.
So it's like he's a member of the public who really appreciates this one tennis coach.
and I know enough about him to know that he could do that without having an actual child in the program. So I could see him doing something like that.
All right, well, does someone want to call either Robert Jones or Mr. Lewis? Do you want to, we usually don't do it that way, but.
I would prefer not to, personally. I mean, I don't want to make the call
Because you know him personally.
because I know him personally. I don't want to.
You know Robert Jones too? Well, what
No.
about Mr. Jones?
I don't know
Then
Mr.
you'll call Mr. Jones then. Good. Now. What? I thought that's what you were volunteering to
Ticket to the new
do.
guy.
I didn't volunteer to do anything.
I think you were volunteering.
You put words in my mouth.
You were volunteered.
All right, I will call Mr. Jones then, and
We can call him right now if you want.
Number's right on there.
I guess we could, couldn't we?
But
That's like the old days. Well, we used to do that back in the day. Remember that? Greg Kamara, he used to call people left and right.
We're in Jones and Lewis.
Yes, Robert Lee Jones.
What do you think? Is that 6,200 or 8,200?
it looks like 6,200, it's hard to tell.
It's part of the phone number, it's a school number.
Yes, it's Simple School.
6426200.
Yeah, probably because the fax number is 6207.
Well, so you'd have to leave a message for a staff person at this point, probably.
Doesn't Jack Lewis have a daughter who's an exceptional tennis player?
Yes. Yeah, you must have been upstairs.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, we were talking about that because were you involved in the tennis committee?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, his daughter's a very good player. I think she's in college now.
Is there a tennis community? Isn't that kind of romanticizing it a little bit, Dave?
No, I think
We're
there
calling
is.
it a
No, there
community.
is. That's
In tennis, love means
Closed.
nothing.
They're closed. All right, so I'll contact Mr. Jones and find out. And yeah, if this was, David, as you think it is, if this was just sort of a community member giving a gift, I mean, because there's no conflict of interest. I mean, all right, if there's no student, if you don't have a student who's going to be
He's not. Nobody's
showing
in a position to
potentially
benefit.
preferential treatment. Yeah, there's no, okay, so. All right, good, so that was the gift disclosures. Does anyone want, for the gift disclosures, were there any other ones that were problematic?
Almost all the rest of them were those.
Oh, what was there was that other one, the Begich. Are you guys are we sending a letter to Begich or?
I wouldn't, I think.
I think that it probably was it was just they recommended the grant to that teacher. My
Oh,
guess.
okay.
I think that, I mean, well, it's a BP grant, so it can't be, I mean, strictly speaking, they're mistaken to say that they received
Right.
the gift from these people. They
Right.
can't, it's a grant from BP.
Okay.
And the code doesn't forbid it. I mean, it is interesting, I mean, well, this one might be one worth keeping an eye. It still presents the potential conflicts though, right? I mean, it's still problematic, but I don't think the code would forbid
This is actually the
this.
first one I remember seeing from BP. You guys,
No,
I
same
would guess
here.
that most people don't bother putting them down because they're,
they consider grants and not gifts?
Interesting. Yeah, just about everything else looks like it was.
Shareholder of USKH. Brother is mayor?
We have a past opinion on that.
Tim Sullivan?
Yeah,
It's a good school word.
where we had all the
Yeah, there's
detailed
I know.
There's a
information.
passel of Sullivans in this town.
And we have an opinion on it, and it's, where all the details were looked at more closely.
On this particular one, or? no?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
reappointment.
Which is
Well, I mean,
what-
it's sort of a reappointment. The utility boards went to an authority structure,
Oh.
and now they've just been moved back, so, but he's been the board chair at Able for a long time.
Oh, okay.
So what happened to the reducing the number of boards? Because I was kind of confused by all these new appointed chairs. And I thought the
They-
boards were going to be
The number of
phased
boards
out.
was reduced, but this happens that they all sunset on October 14th. So you see a whole slug of people coming in.
And they're all reappointed.
Not most of us, yeah.
Okay, so next.
Was there a motion to approve the forms?
Oh, no, there was not.
With the
That's-
exception.
Do we have a second?
Is this part of the,
second.
Yeah,
part of the board decision?
yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no? All right, motion to accept those disclosures passes. And, you know, Madam Clerk, did anyone have any problems with the other ones,
Disclosure?
the disclosures of economic
That's
interests?
what he was talking about over there, right?
Oh, did you have one, David?
Have one what?
Tim Sullivan? You had
He was
a
just
question
questioning Sullivan, but he didn't.
Oh, no, it was, yeah, no, apparently that was already taken care of, so. yeah.
Did you discuss the parental information paragraph as a formal?
You know, we didn't. I kind of took our conversation with Eric as hitting that one.
Okay.
And
I'll put
I just eliminated it.
persons to
It was
be
an
here.
executive decision.
All right.
So, you back into executive session?
Oh,
Well, did anyone have any problems with the economic interest ones?
Well, like, there's nobody putting it down except brother and mayor. There is this interesting thing about the shred Alaska, but I don't know if there's an issue there. With Susan Forbes and Jonathan Forbes.
is the one Pam Chenier wrote a letter?
I'm sorry?
Is that the one where Pam Chenier wrote a letter?
Well, that letter is just a standard letter that
Oh.
Pam had. Oh, no, it's a special letter.
It says about
Yeah.
Susan.
Okay. Didn't know I had a problem, 'cause
Susan has no, and according to this, Susan has
the
no.
first
influence-
paragraph is the same thing she puts in every single letter, so
Right, on the ability of her husband's company to obtain school district business. Should any occasion arise wherein she might have such an opportunity, she'll remove herself from the selection process. I assume that's, is that what?
Well, it looks like we've talked to them before. On 9/11, on 9/21. So. No, I have no problems with it.
no, no problems.
I move that we accept the disclosure forms as is.
All right, sounds good. Didn't we get something with, didn't we get a request for advisory from the mayor about Timothy Sullivan as a subcontractor
Last year.
last year? So did that ever go through? Is he a
Yeah, we have an
subcon-
opinion on
But is he in fact a subcontractor now?
Was it a subcontractor or was it the board member?
No, he had to be reappointed as board member.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, was it that, that was
And
it?
there was,
Okay.
and we said that it had to be managed to the, as I recall, it had to be managed to the municipal.
Okay,
Something like that, yeah.
Appointment of family member to the utility board.
okay, good enough. All right then, all those in favor of accepting these disclosures, say aye.
All right.
Opposed, no? All right, good. Madam Clerk, can we go back into executive session to?
Will that?
We are in open
Yeah.
session.
All right, very good. Do we have a, what should we do? We should probably have a motion to postpone consideration of request for advisory 2011-5 to our next meeting.
To the next special meeting?
Well, our next meeting, right, or I guess to a special meeting.
I think in view of the timeliness of this matter and how it could potentially create an issue for the assembly, that it might be best to do this sooner rather than later. So recommending a special meeting at a time to be determined.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Or was that a recommendation?
Second.
Or was your motion to
My
recommend?
motion is my recommendation is a motion.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. So let's talk about when to do this then.
Well, we have to provide 24 hours notice, so.
Well, that's fine, because I'm gonna have to be blunt with you guys. There's no way you're getting me in here before next Thursday.
And Thursday was my date, would be my
Okay,
preference.
again, grades are due at midnight on Wednesday.
Yeah, I
I'm
can't
gonna
do
need
Thursday.
every minute to get my papers done.
Thursday the 23rd?
22nd.
Next second.
Well,
Yeah.
David, if we would have a quorum, you will have already had input at that point.
Sure.
So it might be something we could do.
That's a good point, yeah, and when he's here, a lot of times it just leads the conversation astray anyway, so. Oh, wait, we're back on the record?
Start looking
I
at
mean-
Thursday?
Thursday the 22nd?
Thursday, yeah.
You'll be required for a quorum.
No, it doesn't have to be in the afternoon or morning works too.
I won't have my boss in town. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be sleeping.
Yeah, I'm out on Thursday, but you guys are welcome to. And I'll be
Yeah,
done-
see,
we'll be
you'll
done
be
with it.
basically the.
Yeah.
Well, could you
author of the
do
opinion.
Friday?
Well, I do have a Ninth Circuit brief due on Friday that,
Oh, when's it due?
well, it's due on Friday the 23rd. I don't know if I'm going to be writing it or getting it continued.
I would suggest we stay with the 22nd.
I don't, and I'm totally fine, because we're just going to, that's all we're going to be doing is redoing the letter. I'll have a chance to go
Yeah,
over
it's
it
true.
with
I'd
you,
still like to
so-
have I prefer you to be
Um,
here, but I mean, I suppose we could just.
I can't commit to the
I imagine we
23rd
wouldn't be
right now.
making substantive changes to it.
You say you will be, or you won't?
No, I imagine we wouldn't.
Oh, I thought you were
I
being-
mean, unless it were really screwed up.
Oh,
then we might have to-
I thought this was, more TK sarcasm. We could go into, unless you want to do it the following week. But the following, boy, we're in the middle of the holidays.
That's the holiday. No, we should do it.
I could probably commit to Friday.
Well, could we,
We could say we could do Friday, and then I'll just, either I'm going to be here or I'm not. Thursday's not.
how's Friday look for everyone
Friday's
else?
better than Thursday for me. I can do either one, but Friday's better. If it's just a short 30-minute meeting.
If we could do it early, I'm off Friday.
I was
could
planning
take
on
that day
taking Friday off, so.
Yeah, early, could you be down here early?
Oh, I could be here at 5 a.m.
Well, I was thinking more like 8:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8:39 would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I can.
How about 9?
9?
Yeah.
Let's do 9 o'clock. Let's do 9 o'clock.
Okay, Friday, 12/23, 9 a.m. Special meeting.
And I would imagine that either assembly council or somebody in this group will call me and ask me, have we done our opinion? Am I at liberty to disclose we're having a special meeting on Friday, next Friday? Does anybody have any
To
problem with that?
finalize?
I don't have any.
Because I had told them it would be this meeting.
As long as they understood that,
Yeah,
any
could be
discussion that we
long.
have would be an executive session, so it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like they could
Oh,
come
no, they don't, no, they don't
anyway.
plan to, they're just anxious for a decision.
Oh, no, for sure, I think, yeah.
Okay. And maybe no one will call me, I'm not gonna reach out, so.
We said 9 o'clock, right?
9 o'clock,
Okay.
next Friday.
Okay.
I don't have have my calendar with me, but did we discuss, we set January's meeting already, right? For the 13th?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we set the next several months. January, we did January 19th.
Yeah. That's fine. And I think that's where we stopped. I think we were gonna wait to see what your school calendar was.
That's right.
Set from
I don't think we did
February on.
February, did we?
No.
No, we didn't do February.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you know your obligations?
You know, no, I don't off the top of my head.
Well, we could, can we not deal with that in January? The
Oh,
January?
we could do that next week, right?
Yeah, next week.
Well, it depends on how we call the special meeting. Oh, no, that's only simply that we worry about that, because special meetings usually call for a specific topic. Okay. That's the kitchen over there, I don't get it.
Okay, 23rd.
All right, do we have members' comments? Any comments? As again, it's both a pleasure and an honor to serve with all of you. Each one of you is an inspiration in your own idiosyncratic way. Whether it's coming late, sarcastic, nasty comments about the chair.
That's into self-defense.
So I am actually now officially keeping a file for ideas about our end-of-year report. So if you have ideas, we bounced a lot of ideas, maybe email me and I'll start gathering them together, and then we'll maybe we'll put that on the January agenda to kind of like bounce some ideas around. And I mean, the report, Keith's going to do the report in about 3 years, and I'll do 3 years worth of reports all
I
at
did
once. This is
2
the new
last
practice
time,
of the
yeah.
board. So if you have any ideas, shoot me an email or what have you, but I'll start
Okay.
keeping track. I'll try to remember all the stuff that we've been talking about. over the
Not
last-
much of a narrative that goes with, but actually the clerk's office does the majority of the work. They pulling together the data. You might want to inform me,
Give them looking.
give them some time, because that one, pulling all that data together may take some time.
Any other members' comments? All right, move to adjourn. All right, thank you, everyone. See you next Friday.
I do. Do you want to take a crack at it? Do you have my email address?
I think I do, because we emailed it.
Right, yeah.
You wrote on the one I sent out yesterday, or, yeah, the one.
Oh, that's right, we're in all of it. Yeah, do you want to take a crack at it first and then send it to me?
Okay.
Because I'm curious to know,
Some additional
you have
feedback.
ideas, and so I want